Hi, my name is Angela Miller, and this is for Aspen University. I wanted to speak today about social power and the alpha dog. I wanted to start out with some information from some notable psychologists. That is psychologist John French and Bertram Raven. Now, back in 1959, they had come up with the concept of dividing power into 5 separate and distinct forms. One thing that I really wanted to point out is that in 1965, Bertram Raven had actually revised this original model in concept to include a 6th form of power. So the 6 forms of power that I wanted to go over today are coercive power, reward power, legitimate power, referent power, and expert power, which are the original 5, and then the 6th one, which is informational power. So the first one I want to talk about today is coercive power. And coercive power is a type of power that uses a threat. So it's a way of them saying that if you don't do this, I'm going to do this, and they hope that you comply. Now, those threats or that force could be physical or social, it could be emotional, political, or even financial. So this type of power is based on the idea of coercion, and it's saying that someone is going to be forced to do something that they don't want to do because they're being threatened with one of those things. The other type of power I wanted to talk about is reward power. And with reward power, we're looking at the type of power that someone is offering something. Maybe it's a tangible item. It could be social or emotional or spiritual. And they're offering it to someone that's doing what's expected of them. Examples of a positive type of reward would be allowance or maybe an incentive system where you give your child money based on their grades. Like if you get an A, I'll give you an extra $5. There's also negative aspects of reward power, which is where you're going to find someone. That's an example. So something like if you park where you're not supposed to, then you'll get a parking ticket. Or if you don't behave, then you'll be grounded. So that's what reward power is. Another type of power is legitimate power, and legitimate power comes from someone that's an official. So that could be someone that's an elected official or someone that's been appointed into a position of authority. So it could be a governor, a senator, it could be your boss, it could even be a teacher that's an authority figure. And what they do is they use that power to make others feel like they're obligated to perform in a certain way. And it really does rely on that person being in a position of power, being over someone. It's from influence. So if I'm over you as an employee, I'm your boss, then I'm influencing you by asking you to change your behavior or to act a certain way. So that is an example of legitimate power. Another type of power is something called referent power. And that is rooted in an affiliation or group. So maybe if you're a member of the Red Hat Society, or if you're a member of Veterans of Foreign War, then that would be considered a group or an organization. It could even be spiritual. So maybe you're a member of a church or a religion, like a Catholic church. Then it could be something that you would be dealing with there. So that's an example of referent power. And then there's expert power. Now, expert power is based on one's experiences, on their skills, on their talents, and it's effective, but it can also be based again on negative or positive, like that reward power was earlier that we discussed. So how this works is if I assume that you have something that is superior to me, maybe you know more than me, maybe your education's greater than mine, I may perceive that you're an expert, and so therefore you have a certain power hold over me because of my perception of you and your skill set. Then that leads us to informational power, and that was the 6th edition. And informational power is where someone can influence or bring about change through information. It's kind of like cognition and being a target of influence, and it's a result of having knowledge that others want. Maybe I know what so and so did, and if you don't do what I'm asking you to, I'm not going to tell you. So that's an example of informational power. In this assignment, we were asked to talk a little bit about what type of power base we see most often portrayed at work. And I wanted to talk a little bit about reward power, and I have 2 examples of that. Of course, one is if you meet your goals as an employee of this organization, then you will be in a better position to receive a higher pay raise at the end of that period where we're looking at how you progress. Another thing we do here is we have something called a rewards program for our health, because we work for a healthcare organization. So what that's saying is if I, as a patient, decide to get my regularly scheduled physicals and exams, and if I stay within a certain weight limit, and if I make sure that I am monitoring my blood pressure, diabetes, or all those things, then I am eligible for discounted insurance. And to me, that's a reward program. I can still have insurance whether or not I choose to meet those criteria. But if I meet the criteria that they designate as a healthcare provider, which does save them money in the long run, then I'm eligible for a discounted rate. So that's one of the examples I thought of right away with reward power. The last part of this assignment asked us to talk a little bit about the alpha dog mentality. And I think traditionally when people think about that, they automatically assume it's the man. I think that they also assume that they're dominant and that they're loud, pushy. They could be looked at as aggressive, maybe a big person, maybe obnoxious, maybe they don't treat each other well. And I think that comes from just bad behavior, not necessarily an alpha male or an alpha female. The thing that I had mentioned the other day when I was working on a discussion post is that I think looking at it from a different angle would be more positive, and that would be that the alpha leader is one that's in a position to take charge in a positive way and to move their team positively through the changing climate of healthcare, navigate those waters to take them through and help them get to the next level. And sometimes you do have to be more assertive or more aggressive, but it doesn't mean it has to be assertive or aggressive in a negative sense. So again, my name is Angie Miller, and this is for Aspen University. Thank you.